Hey guys, this is Luis Moreno. I'm here with Reagan Lata. You're in Houston, right?
Yes.
In the Houston, Texas area. And he was one of the first go-getters out there to get the AHIP for 2023 completed. So Reagan, we're getting hit with a bunch of agents are freaking out about this AHIP. You know, they want tips and tricks and techniques and the answers, which we're not going to give them. But you passed, and again, they don't really care what the score is as long as you score, or as long as you don't miss more than 5 questions. It's a 50-question test, and you got to score 90. And as long as you have more than 45 right, you are going to pass the exam. So, Reagan, what would you say to agents out there that are taking AHIP?
Well, don't sleep through the study material.
In other words, don't hit next.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yep.
You definitely need to know your information, but there are some helps to get you through available to you.
Okay.
You definitely cannot just skate through without any knowledge whatsoever. It's not possible.
Right. And I will tell you, there's agents out there and organizations that would take the test for you. And guess what? I definitely wouldn't want you with one of those organizations talking to my mom and dad about healthcare or Medicare, because you're not going to know squat. You're not going to know the foundations of Medicare. So yeah, I agree with you 100%, Reagan. You just can't just next and go through it and expect to pass this exam. You're going to have to respect the course. Was there something that you did with each module as you were going along with it?
I did. There's just simply, if you copy the question and Google it, a lot of times you will find those answers, or at least the question and a discussion online. I like a service called Quizlet.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay for that service. I don't. I'm a cheater. I just put it in and search through. It takes a little bit more time and kind of find the best, closest answer. It won't always give you the right answer. Sometimes a wrong answer gets posted on there and you'll get it wrong if you're just clicking the answer. So you kind of have to have some base knowledge, but it really kind of helps solidify your decision on the answers you give.
Yep, Quizlet is a tool. Here, and I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, guys, and I'm going to share with you guys. If you're new to Medicare and you're wondering what AHIP is, AHIP is the certification exam that you've got to take every single year in order for you to continue to sell and receive commissions. If you don't do it, you're going to lose your commissions and you're not going to be ready to sell. So all of us take AHIP, unless you're just going to sell one carrier, and there's one carrier out there, which is United Healthcare, that if you're only going to sell them, they have their own internal certification that you can take. But all the other carriers are going to require you to take AHIP. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you. Give me 1 minute here. And so first thing that I want to share with you guys is what I did is I took a snapshot of the 5 different modules. Module number 1 is going to talk about the Medicare program basics. Module 2 will talk about the health plans. Module 3 will talk about Part D, standalone prescription drug plans. Module 4 will talk about marketing Advantage plans and standalone Part D plans. And then Module 5 will talk about enrollment guidance with Medicare Advantage and Medicare with Part D. Now, as you go through each of these modules, it's pretty intensive. This is going to lay an incredible foundation for you. Okay, it's going to make it also easy for you to pass the carrier certifications after you get done with this. So if you look at module 1, guys, this is the stuff that it's going to cover. Look at module 2. It'll cover this information here. Module 2 will talk about Advantage plans, coordinate care plans, or MA onlys. It'll talk about special need plans, private fee for service, and so on. Module 3 We'll get into Medicare Part D basics and eligibility, covered drugs, your troop, your penalties, your premiums, and then you get to Module 4. Again, it gets very intensive with the information that's on here. Module 4 is all about marketing, what you can and can't do. You got to pay a lot of attention to this. Reagan, did you find a lot of questions on marketing? You know, when you took your test, which way did it kind of lean more to?
I didn't really think of it in those terms. There were some, probably about 10.
Yep, there's a good chunk that's going to come from marketing. And then, you know, we'll get in Module 5. It talks about your enrollment periods and the elections that you can use, disenrollment. So guys, I will tell you, do not click and go through these modules and expect to pass. Okay, here's one big tip. And I don't know if you did this, Reagan, but when you get to the end of the module, you used to have exams throughout the module. Now there's only one final. It's not a final exam, but it's an exam for that one module. And it doesn't matter what you score. It'll tell you, you go through it, you answer it. And if you get it correct, it'll tell you it's correct. If it's wrong, it'll give you some more information. But what I would recommend is copy all that into a Word document and save all those questions for each of those modules. I think there's 20 for each one. Save them on a Word document. And what you can do is when you have them on a Word document, you can use them as a reference. Okay, a lot of questions come from the quizzes. You know, that was my biggest tip. A lot of agents don't know that they can do that. What else, Reagan? Anything else that you did that helped you out?
I made sure I took those little quizzes.
Yep.
And what's funny is I seem to miss one question in almost every quiz. And so I kind of focused in those areas where I missed questions. And I ended up getting a 96 on the final, which is okay. But you know, when I took the final, I still wasn't sure I passed. You know, when I passed, I was like, oh, man.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's over. Yeah, it's stressful, like any exam.
It is stressful, guys. You know, when you pay for your AHIP now, and down here, when we post this video, I'm going to post our discount code that you'll get. It knocks $50 off the normal price. But when you get in there and you pay that price, you're only given 3 tries. If you miss those 3 tries, you got to re-register, repay, and you get another 3. And I don't think you can take more than 6. I think at one point there was a limit. I don't know if it's unlimited now, but as far as I know, I either pass on the first or the second, and I'll make sure not to flunk because it's my livelihood. You don't get that AHIP done, you're out of luck, guys. You are truly out of luck. Anything else you want to share with agents out there, Reagan?
No, but I think the Quizlet tool is a handy dandy little tool. It generally gives you answers to the questions from the prior years. So when there's new questions, they tend to not show up. And if you didn't study the material, you're going to miss those. And you really need to know a good percentage of those.
Gotcha. Now, here's another tip. I'm glad you mentioned that, you know, about previous years. So I've created a database of quiz questions from all my years that we've been doing this. And sometimes they ask questions from the previous years on this exam. So I caught that last year where about 5 questions, at least in my exam, were also on the previous year's quizzes. So start saving your quizzes in the database. That way you can build it up. And when you get to your exam, you can use that as a reference. So, all right, guys, well, there you go.
Individual names. They use people's names.
That's correct.
So every question has a different person's name. So if you just searched by the name of the person, you'd find it quickly.
Man, you're right on point there, man. You are 100% correct. Yeah, if you just put them on your Word doc and then you Control F and type in, you know, Mrs. Jones or Mr. Hernandez or whatever it may be, you'll be able to search that way. And now one thing I did notice is that when you find a question, just don't look at the ABCD. because what they do is on the actual exam, they shuffle the answers.
Mhm.
So in your quiz, it may have been A, but on the test, it could be C. So make sure that you get the correct answer. Just don't look for that letter.
Yeah.
And guys, we wish you all the luck. It's one of those things, it's a cost of doing business. And also when we're dealing with seniors and we're dealing with their healthcare, this is could be life and death for them if we don't get them into a right plan. And so having the foundation of AHIP is huge. I would highly recommend, don't go out there and go do one of these AHIP parties. They're all over town. I hear them, or your organization will do them for you. We don't do that. And I don't want to go to an organization that does that, because it's not going to lay down the foundation that I need when I'm dealing with these seniors. So I'd highly recommend not doing that. Study, pay attention, and you should be able to pass the test. Reagan, not only you, but there was about 4 other agents that have taken the test. They actually felt that it was easier this year than it was last year. What did you think about that?
It was the same. I was stressed out.
I gotcha.
That stressed out is your livelihood. I mean, it's like, I got to pass this and I don't have lots of days to waste. So I wanted to pass it on the first try. And, I studied for basically 2 days. It wasn't like you just blast through it. But, some people probably can. I have a tendency to read slowly and reread the question and make sure I understood it before I take those little quizzes. And then the test was just one giant ball of stress.
I got you, man. Well, I'm in the same boat.
I was relieved.
I'm in the same boat with you, man. It's not easy. You got to study it. I appreciate your time. And also, you just mentioned, we're a couple of days away when AHIP came out, but there's already carriers that are certifying agents for 2023. So you just did your first carrier certification already, right?
Yes.
So guys, pay attention to your emails from your carriers. What you're going to have to do with that is, once you pass AHIP, at the very bottom of your AHIP, you're going to see the carriers that you're appointed with. And all you've got to do is hit transmit. It will send your results electronically to that carrier. Once they acknowledge that they've got them, then you can you can start their carrier certification. I think you said you did Devoted. Was that the way it worked with them?
No, everything transmitted except United Healthcare. I called them and they are not opening theirs to accept the transmission until the 29th.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with the system, but of course everybody's log jamming them with phone calls going, why didn't that go through? And that's what United Healthcare told me.
Now, if you're a new agent, you're not going to see those carriers down at the bottom. So you're going to have to go through a different process. If you're an existing agent, you'll see all the carriers at the bottom where you can transmit. New agents, you'll see nothing there. You're going to have to call each carrier and they'll walk you through how to transmit those results. Okay?
One more thing.
Go ahead.
When you get your certificate, make sure you save that to your computer as a PDF file, because the certification I just took did not allow me to transmit that from the AHIP. So because I had it saved on my computer, when I took their certification course, it asked me to upload my certificate, which I did.
Oh, great tip, man. So yes, make sure you do that. I do have a folder with all my AHIP certifications for all the years that I've been selling. And then Reagan, I don't know how long you've been an agent, but are you still required to do CE?
No.
Okay. So you're like me, man. You're one of these old dogs. And 20 years, we're exempt from CEs, but you newer agents, if you need CEs, I'd recommend pay the $20. How much was it for CE? Do you recall? I think it's a nominal fee, but you'll get 8 hours of continuing education when you take the AHIP. So I'd recommend you do that. You pay the money, and what happens when you get done at the end, they'll send that acknowledgement of CE credits to the state. So it'll show up on your record. So make sure you do that. And then make sure that you get certified or ready to sell with all your carriers, guys. It is important. We've had agents that take AHIP, but they never certify with the carriers, and that means that you're not ready to sell. What I would recommend And I will tell you, my renewal book is, I every year I freak out because I'm like doing triple, quadruple checks with each carrier. Did you guys have everything for me? I'm good to go, right? And they'll say yes, and I'll feel good. And then I'll be like, oh, I got to recheck again. I don't want to blow my renewals. And then I go back and I call again. All right, can you double check and make sure I'm good? And all you got to do is call a broker support rep from your carriers and just quadruple check. Make sure that you're ready to sell and you're good to go. I'm just a little weird, man. I got to do it a bunch of times. Then I have a little check marks, and I'm like, oh, it's weird. But anyway, make sure
you ever have any carriers send you that ready to sell certification in the middle of the year, and you're like, I thought I had that.
That is a little scary.
Oscar,
you're right.
I feel good about sending them out multiple times, and I got a couple of them last year from them, and I was like, I know I did that already, and I'd go check my email. Yeah, there was the certification, and for random reasons, they were sending them out again.
Yep. Make sure that you're saving, create a folder on your Outlook or your desktop and put all these ready to sell letters that you're receiving by email into those folders. That way, if there's ever a glitch, you can pull it up and say, nope, I got an email. Here it is. And you can get yourself out of a jam. Well, great, guys. Well, thank you, Reagan. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Check the description down below. We'll have the discount code for AHIP on there if you need it. And again, respect the course, guys. Study. You can save the modules on your desktop and you can use them as a reference when you're taking the test. But I would highly recommend spend some time, learn the information, and you will do just fine when you take this test. So I hope that helps you out. Thank you and appreciate your time, Reagan.
Thanks, Luis.
All right, you're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, guys, if you like what you saw, here's what I'd like for you to do. I've got some extra videos here for you to watch. And if you would, click here so that you can subscribe to our channel and make sure you hit the little bell icon so you can get updates like these in the future.